So, hi guys, Tim here doing another military review today. Before I actually get onto that, hopefully everybody has had a nice Christmas and New Year's in this kind of Corona festive journey. But yeah, and also the camera I'm filming on is not a new camera, but an old new camera. I'm just testing out to see if it's good than the other camera I've been previously using, but hopefully it's all good. So yeah, so back to the review. Here is a late Second World War Far East Mark IV turtle helmet, or the Mark IV steel helmet. And now before I get on to this particular helmet, the British Army first adopted the steel helmet back in September of 1915, just before the Battle of Loos, or even during the Battle of Loos on the 25th of September 1915 was going on. So that was kind of the first battle that the British Army's new steel helmet was used. That was the Battle of Loos. Well, mainly September 1915. And it was, at the time, it was revolutionary, because most fatalities was not being caused by bullets, it's actually caused by artillery and mainly shrapnel. So in September 1915, the British Army adopted what you can sometimes call a shrapnel helmet, because the Mark I steel helmet, which was called back then, was the first one, mainly protected the wearer, the soldier, the British or Australian or whoever soldier, from shrapnel from up above. It didn't protect the guy's head from the side, like bullets, things like that. And just to say, actually, a little side note is, when the Mark I steel helmet came out in 1915, the percentage of head wounds and fatalities actually went up, because if you think about it, the British Army had been wearing in 1914 cloth peaked cap, the 1905 pattern stiff peaked cap mainly, and so that means they were far more careful, or really careful, not to stick their head up too much, or they will get shot. Yeah. So then, when this new helmet, this new protection against bullets, well, not really bullets, but shrapnel came about, that the British Army thought that, oh my god, this is brand new, this is going to revolutionise the infantrymen, so we'll have to, be less wary of what we're doing, because we're going to be safe, right? But they're wrong. So that means the percentage of head fatalities and wounds to the head went up when the steel helmet was brought into service, because the British Army thought that, oh yeah, this is brand new, this is fine, this is going to, protect us. But technically it didn't. It still is, well, when the Mark IV came out, it's still quite thin material, and of course it was only a shrapnel protection helmet. So the Mark I steel helmet went into the 1920s and early 1930s. Then it became the Mark I Star, and it was really just a modification of the Mark I, using what we've known as a modern, well, not modern for the time, Mark II liner, which is probably that liner. And all it was really, the Mark I liner, or the Mark I steel helmets, were a leather-based and fabric-based liner, and really it was good for keeping the sweat out and comfort, but it wasn't really kind of a military type comfort, type of thing. Then the Mark I Star helmet was modified to fit the more modern, at the time I say modern, this liner here, with kind of the leather all around, and yeah, everything. Then that, of course, transformed to the famous about 1937, roughly 1936, 1937, the Mark II steel helmet, which was again the same as the Mark I and Mark I Star shell, but had the Mark I Star liner in it, and also in the middle of the Mark I Star helmet liner there was a big buffer pad, right on the Mark I Star, with a massive buffer pad, kind of oval shaped buffer pad, pardon me, in there. On the Mark II, they went to this more, you can't really see it, but they went, no, you can't really see it, but they went more to that, no, you can't really see it, but they went No, you can't see it, but they went more of a crossed, crossed hatch design with a bolt through the middle, which was fine right through the Second World War and the kind of early 1950s post-war era. And then, of course, Mark II steel helmet came across, and what we call today as a bring over from the First World War, because it really, again, it protected shrapnel and light armament from above, but didn't protect any from below. And so by 1943, in 1944, the British Army had come out with the Mark III helmet, which was kind of the first modern, if you can call that modern, helmet which protects you from shrapnel at the from the top, and actually first time protect you from bullets coming back, or coming from the circumference, at the bottom. So it was actually now it fits its purpose. And so the Mark III turtle helmet is basically you can't really. So basically, actually, I'll just move that up. So basically, this is the Mark III shell. Yeah, it's called a turtle helmet because it has that. You probably can't see it, but there's a flange, there's a bend, but there's a flange at the back there. That's the back of the helmet. That's called a turtle because there's like a turtle's shell on the back, called a turtle helmet to us military collectors. Yeah, and it did protect from shrapnel and bullets. So now the Mark IV helmet. This is a Mark IV turtle steel helmet. Was a modified Mark III helmet to be used in the Far East. So May 8th, 1945, Germany had been knocked out of Europe. European war was over. The Japanese were still roaming around in Burma and lately Malaya. So they modified a lot of the Mark III helmets, which were this with Mark II liners, and they had a nut and bolt going through the top, which you won't be able to see. Do I have a little light here which you may or may not see in there? Nope, you can't see. So basically it had the same as a Mark II nut and bolt screw in the middle, but these Mark IV helmets were converted for kind of Far East use because, which I'll get a better detailed photo after, but in there is basically, in there there's a big like American pull the dot stud where you can take off this liner and then carry it like a bucket for water. So that's what the Mark IV turtle helmet was designed for. Oops, sorry. For mainly can water, of course, for as a steel helmet. But yeah, this one is actually dated, which again you won't be able to see the date. Actually, you might be able to see the date, but maybe not. But it's right in there. Which again, I'll get you a better, clearer photo, which is 1945 dated. So yes, 1945 dated. Mark IV turtle helmet. Again, Far East conversion, if you like. But yeah. So you can practically call this the Mark IV turtle helmet, the last proper steel helmet before they went into the 60s and 70s with Kevlar helmets. There is the Mark IV helmet was continued right through into the post-war years, into the early 1950s, but it was much more of a smoother top, a kind of a peacetime manufacture work, and that was the NATO Mark IV, because in 1949 Britain, France, America, except Russia, a lot of other places went into and made this NATO agreement in 1949, so it's basically called the NATO Mark IV helmet. But this one, with the press stud and dated 1944-45, is called pardon me, well, 1945 dated is the Mark IV, proper Mark IV, Far East, British Army Far East helmet. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope to see you in the next video, and hope all is well. See yous, bye.